So there are couple aspects of expectancy that we wanted to control for, and so they needed to be fully informed, and but also the volunteers and the sitters needed to be blinded to some of the range of the drug conditions. And so one of the tricks of the methodology that we ended up working out is we informed people that they would, in the course of 2 or 3 sessions, receive a moderately high or high dose of psilocybin. So they knew that they, at least one session, they would get that. And then they were told that they could get a range of other drugs, and they could also potentially get a range of other psilocybin doses. So they were told actually they could get 11 different compounds, so including drugs like dextromethorphan, nicotine, caffeine, diphenhydramine, diazepam, and methylphenidate. And in fact, the design of the study was a very simple crossover study where we studied the effects of a fairly high dose of methylphenidate or Ritalin compared to a high dose of psilocybin. People were crossed over between those two conditions, and then some subjects had a third session, and that was done again to keep everyone blinded as to the nature of the design. And so the people that had the third session actually got 2 doses of methylphenidate and an unblinded psilocybin session. We actually didn't use the smaller group of 6 subjects who received the third session in the statistical analysis because it wasn't necessary, but it was important to keeping the study blind and the expectancy blind. Given the remarkably different pharmacology between methylphenidate and psilocybin, it was remarkable that I think we were actually able to control for expectancy to the extent that the clinical guide, the chief clinical guide, identified or was unable to correctly identify the presence of psilocybin or a control drug on about 23% of occasions. And there were, and I think most interesting, there were a number of sessions in which the guide identified the compound administered as being something other than psilocybin, yet the volunteer reported the experience to be among the most personally meaningful and spiritually significant experiences of their lives. So that to me was a very compelling demonstration that this was not a guide-induced experience, if you will. Yeah. And the reason that the guide couldn't identify that is that these experiences can be highly introvertive, and the very nature in which we set up our study, and I can describe that in a second, is one that is conducive to that. So there'll be people who actually will say very little over the course of a 6-hour session, and so the guide has very little information about really what went on.